Radiant team ban.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Bridon League. This is going to be the fourth game of the day, I believe. BBC going up against basically unknown, probably the two favorites to actually win the entire thing, so this should be very interesting. Both these two teams having already accrued one victory so far, so it's time for someone to take a loss. Either way, I'm Mikelorus, going to continue casting for you guys today. This time I'm going to be joined by MRP. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing very well, and as you mentioned, on paper, certainly the best matchup in the final group here is BU versus BBC. Of course, all these four teams will make it through to the playoff stage, but seeding is certainly important here, as the first and second teams really only need to win one series to be in the grand final. So this will certainly be telling as to the position of the group after day one.
Reserve time.
Yeah, so it's going to be of the utmost importance for these two teams to come out with a victory. And both the two teams had convincing wins versus X Game, who seem to be falling a little bit behind everyone else in the group. But we'll see if they actually have what it takes to go up against one another. For basically unknown, just real quick, they are all wearing the stand-in tag. They are none of them stand-in, so it's the full draft. Red is mind control. I don't know why he's labeled as red, it just doesn't make any sense, but it's full cast of basically known versus the full cast of Balkan Bears, and BBC grabbing a very early Lich. I haven't seen Lich picked in a very long time, and when he is, he's like 4th or 5th picked.
Yeah, certainly so, and the BBC lineup is full here, but we should note that Miracle is in for Weehaw, so he left the lineup pretty recently.
Yeah, Miracle, Massacre, and Yapsor have been accepted and are full in on the BBC draft now, and they've been performing very well with Miracle, who's had impressive displays on quite a number of heroes as of late, most notably the mid-Rubik, which is something that teams don't actually do anymore, so interesting to see if that is going to come about. But for right now, basically unknown, they're going to grab a Legion Commander and a Troll Warlord. That's a rather old combination that I've seen BBC run a lot in the past, actually. You get the additional attack speed with Battle Trance, helps out Legion Commander with those duels. It works out pretty decently.
Yeah, certainly so, and it's a little bit interesting to see that one as opposed to something like the Axe TW or the Jug. Jug banned out first phase, so definitely an interesting draft from basically unknown. They always elect to take first pick when given the chance to do so. So they certainly have run this in scrims and probably will look to make effect of it. LC pretty good versus Slark if you can get off the duel before the Shadow Dance. He's definitely a carry that relies on his ability to remove himself from fights and return after benefiting from that Shadow Dance passive. So we'll be interesting to see how that worked out. As you mentioned as well, Lich, not a very common pick at all. I don't know if BBC picked this up earlier in their games today, but will be not bad versus stagnant heroes like the LC that want to stand around, need support to come in to finish off the duel. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. Also, will gain a little bit of creep equilibrium for them early on, perhaps in that mid lane.
It's also, we're going to get some serious value out of that ice armor going up against two predominantly right-clicking based heroes. Taking a quick look at the bans, as we're already in the secondary pick phase. Timbersaw, respect ban towards Massacre, and would be pretty good versus Legion Commander. And then, of course, we have the Levi ban of the Disruptor. So basically unknown, showing the BBC side a lot of respect in their bans. This is going to let the Powerhouse Axe get through, and BBC will snatch that one up afterwards. BBC, ban of the Lion as well as the Abaddon. Lion performed very well for fucking Mad in the last game that basically unknown we're playing in, but it will still always be a threat, especially if you're a Slark and you're hoping to not get instantly disabled. So for right now, it's going to be the Axe pick for BBC, and it seems like they might end up a little bit melee heavy, but man, Axe is a very difficult hero to deal with, as is Slark, and adding a Lich on top of that is going to make it so that basically unknown are going to struggle to actually kill off these heroes convincingly.
Yeah, and melee heaviness is not something that BBC is too afraid of with that Axe, especially considering the opening from BU. Axe very effective versus both those heroes, who generally will build into their BKB second or third item in their item progression. So I think Axe is going to be very effective here. They're going to have to deal with him fairly soon. Probably won't see a Blade Mail build just because of the BKBs that'll be built up here in this one, but he'll definitely be super effective going into that mid game. Maybe expect an Aghanims at some point, but definitely with something like a Shiva's or something to buff up the armor of his lineup.
It seems like right now the lane status for Axe, I mean, in general the lanes are going to be pretty safe for an Axe, but You go up against a Troll Warlord, you're going to be fine. You go up against a Legion Commander, you're going to be very happy if you're the Axe. So basically Unknown, with none of their support heroes yet picked up, are going to be struggling to deal with this Axe. And the Slark, I mean, they have the Duel, which is a reasonable counter to the Slark, but it's not really what you want to be doing every single time. Unless you have a lot of burst following it, and with this support pickup of the Venomancer, they're not going to have a lot of burst, but they are going to have quite a bit of damage over time, and I think it is smart of them to move away from the physical damage and try to get a little bit more magic damage on the board.
Yeah, they definitely do need some sort of magic damage. I would have been in agreement with you in terms of them needing burst over this DOT, however, especially with that Aghanim 6-second cooldown. Axe can just call a creep and look to get that extra move speed, and even though the Poison Nova pierces BKB, he should be able to chase down most targets with the Battle Hunger as well as the extra movement speed from the Culling Blade. So a little bit questionable here in my eyes on this Venomancer pick, however. BU is very comfortable with this hero as his Seb fucking mad. We'll see if they run it in a support role, and I definitely do expect that to be the case, as Troll and LC can be run mid, but certainly aren't the best mid heroes unless you couple up an IO with that LC. So I'll expect this to be in a support role for the time being, perhaps LC in that off lane with the Troll in the mid or the safe. But we'll see what the response is from BBC. They could use a support of their own at this point. Will probably lack the safe laner or the mid laner for that matter, unless they choose to put this Axe in a core role, which is certainly warranted if they do elect to go that route up against what BU has thus far.
Yeah, I think it's safe to assume for BBC that Axe and Slark are going to be getting lanes and the farm priority in those lanes. There is a chance that maybe they want to go for a dual lane scenario. Slark Lich is actually not the worst thing in the world, and they'll be able to get a lot of value if they do want to go for that. But grabbing Alina, something that basically Unknown probably could have gone for and gotten a lot of value off of, given their matchup versus Slark, and versus Axe you really want magical damage to cut through instead of physical. But it's going to be BBC to grab that hero first. It might be that support hero, but there's also a significant chance that Lina just goes towards the mid lane, and then expecting the matchup of Troll Warlord or Legion Commander or even Venomancer. None of those lanes are really too terrible for the Lina, so if they want to do that, they can. But in the meantime, basically Unknown, they're going to grab a Sand King, so they are heading very much so in the direction of magical damage. But I'm actually kind of concerned for them. Venomancer Sand King as a support duo is fine, but are you really going to get kills on an Axe with that, with a Lich behind him? It's going to be difficult.
Yeah, I don't feel like there's enough of firepower early on to bring down this Axe, especially once he starts to tank up a little bit. But as you mentioned, I really do kind of favor the Lina in a core role here. I feel like there's that Berserker's Call to set up the Light Strike Array more often than not. That pure damage will be very effective versus the BKB builds of Troll and Legion. So an early Laguna Blade could be a wrench into the plans of BU here. And I definitely think they wouldn't mind giving Lina farm in this case, as they do have the Slark to fall back on a little bit later in the game, the Axe for that early to mid-game aggression to create a little bit of space for her, and of course to set up some of her spells. Either way is a strong support regardless, but lacks a little bit of reliable disable. Can build into that Yule Scepter, which is also very good up against the duel before the BKB comes out for that Legion Commander. So I wouldn't mind that choice from BBC at all, and I definitely like to pick up here, as it does leave some variability for their last pick, and will have BU thinking about their ban here for a bit.
Well, it's going to be Viper. Pretty sure BU have no idea what this Lina is going to be doing, because Viper is a solid hero pretty much no matter what your situation is going to be, but if they actually knew what BBC were going to be planning, then it would have been a much more specific hero ban. Regardless, it's not going to be seen in this particular game. BBC, I'm going to assume that Lina's going to go towards the mid lane, Axe off Slark with someone else, so I'm going to assume that they're going to be looking for another support hero. Again, you're up against Legion Commander, and it's going to be the Enigma. This is something that BBC like to do quite a bit. Just grab that Enigma, and honestly, I don't think this is too terrible. Of course, the Eidolons aren't the best versus overwhelming odds. You have kind of a weird nombo there, but they don't really need another support hero to win their lane, just because they have so much inherent power already. Yeah, and with 3 melee heroes that want to be in the front lines, and even to an extent the Venomancer who wants to blink in and get off a Poison Nova, these black holes should be pretty influential in most of these fights if this Enigma is positioned well for BBC. So it looks like we will see a Coralina, and as I mentioned, I definitely do like that decision. I mean, the Enigma will perhaps be in the jungle, so can be considered a core as well. They could even put him in the off lane there, and Lina can pick up as a support. But at this point, Yapzor will grab up the Enigma.
And so we will see perhaps a bit of a farming Lina here in the hands of Miracle. But to round out the lineup for BU, we will see the Rubik, so it will be a core Venomancer for them. And what are your feelings on the late game, considering the roles chosen by BU?
I mean, for BU, it's going to be really hard for them to lose the late game. You always have to worry about black holes, but Lina as a core hero inherently doesn't do that great late game. Axe is the exact same way. They're meant to really dominate the early mid game. Late game, they might still be relevant in their ability to initiate. They still have stuns. They still have damage. That's all going to hold true. Yeah. But Slark, though he is going to be a very large threat, it's really, you can't compare him to the damage of a late game Aghanim to Venomancer ultimate. You can't compare him to a Legion Commander who's gotten a couple of duel victories or a really farm Troll Warlord. So if this game does go late, Unknown have it in the bag. So it's going to be up to BBC to end this game before, or at least shut down Unknown before this game draws on to a super late game stage. But either way, we are going to see the loadouts as Massacre is going to be handling the Axe up towards the top lane. Yapzor is going to be most likely heading towards the jungle with his loadout. Lots of wards on him. Miracle's going to be handling the mid lane Lina. We've got Levi going towards the top lane as the support Lich to help out that Axe. And then Padrino left on the bottom lane alone versus Bambo.
Yep, Bambo going to drop that excuse me, ward down for some nice vision. He's going to see if the supports will rotate in, but it should be a 1v1 matchup thus far. Sexy Bambo taking up the off lane for BU on that LC. In the mid lane, presumably we've got Mind Control or Red on that Troll Warlord with Paris. Going to play the safe lane Venomancer. Fucking Mad or Seb is going to pick up that Rubik, and Magoma, the best Ogre Magi player in the world, is going to pick up the Sand King for that defensive try.
Bambo and Padrino found each other. They were attacking each other at almost the exact same attack speed, and then at the exact same moment backed off from the fight, ate a tango, then hit each other one more time. It was great. Perfectly synchronized from Bambo and Padrino. And this is going to be not the worst matchup in the world for Legion Commander, but it's hard to beat Essence Shift. As powerful as Moment of Courage can possibly be, Essence Shift is just a little bit better, and it will continuously be better for this game. So the odds of this Legion Commander getting experience, getting levels, and getting gold pretty high, but she will also have to worry a lot about just outright dying to this Slark, because this is not a Legion Commander favored matchup down towards the bottom lane. Maybe it's going to be a little better now that fucking Mad is thinking about going down here, but still, this is going to be a rough bottom lane for LC.
Yeah, so perhaps we do see duels come out, or dual lanes come out from BU here. A little bit interesting. Yeah, Pounce is one of those things with a weird mechanic in the game. Can't be purged off by most things, and press the attack is included in that list of things that's unable to take off the leash. So Bambo not going to have a serious advantage. Telekinesis back onto Padrino. They know he's skilled up Essence Shifts here, so they may dive him a bit, but willing not to do so underneath that tower too early. And Bambo going to rotate back into lane and find some farm.
Yeah, no Fade Bolt, no overwhelming odds, no additional kick of damage there to get the kill for basically Unknown, but it's going to be fine because Padrino is now going to be a little bit more worried about how aggressively Unknown can play this this off lane, as fucking Mad will always be flirting with a little bit of danger in that Slark, but he should be surviving. Over towards the mid lane, Red's going to be going toe-to-toe with Miracle, and Troll Warlord versus Lina, not the most common mid lane matchup, but it should be relatively even. Lina's ability to spam out the waves with the Dragon Slave is going to make it so that Red is most likely going to be fighting near his tower more often than not, but I don't really see either of these two heroes dying, assuming neither of those two heroes make any serious mistakes.
Yeah, and both heroes opting for the early buff to their stats, Null Talisman or Wraithband picked up respectively, and so the bottles will be a little bit delayed, but as you mentioned, Miracle able to nuke down those waves with the Dragon Slave and should be able to find a little bit of early CS here and an early bottle to help sustain her in lane. If she gets caught out with those ranged whirling axes, Lina could be aggressed onto, but a well-placed light strike array should be able to sound her retreat just fine. Magoma going to do some stacking already for this Sand King in the jungle, so that'll help him accelerate his economy pretty shortly hereafter.
And then up towards top lane, the Axe Lich dual lane, it's going to usually win out against anyone, but up against a Venomancer, I think this is one of the few lanes where Axe just doesn't really do well at all. He'll charge the Venomancer occasionally, but having the Poison Sting slight slowdown to worry about means he can't quite close in as fast as he would really like. He might get a call occasionally, but he'll be taking a lot of damage all the while because of how much damage output Poison Sting offers to the Veno. So this is a very powerful dual lane for BBC, I'm not going to say otherwise, but up against this Venomancer matchup, hell, just Venomancer solo, they can't really do too much too convincingly. That leaves Magoma to stack up and eventually get to that level 3, so once he hits that, Sandstorm is going to be making the money flow, and Sand King is not needed anywhere in this game. He's pretty much the mirror situation of Yapzor on the other end.
Yeah, it was a very good choice for dual lanes coming out, excuse me, from BU here because they know that the jungle Enigma exists here for Yapzor, so they can certainly punish this. And the attack animation on that Vino is very nice, and as you mentioned, Poison Sting gonna keep Massacre at bay for most of this matchup.
Well, 0-0 right now, and it seems like both teams going to be content with just chilling and getting a couple of levels up. As far as the levels that BBC are going to be waiting for, Laguna Blade does mean that Lina can very much so kill the Troll Warlord, and won't really be too difficult either. If you land an LSA, you're probably going to kill the Troll, and that's pretty much the end of it. But for Basically Unknown, I mean, they're going to be waiting for their Blink Daggers. Legion Commander is going to want hers, Magoma is going to want his on the Sand King. Of course, BBC want theirs on Mass Carry as well, but it seems like that is going to be not for a very long time. As far as action starting before that, I mean, that's probably not going to happen at all in this game. Maybe once Bambo hits level 6, but even then, the odds of him killing off Bridon with that is very, very low. If he had a Skywrath Mage here instead of Rubik, maybe it's possible, but Rubik's just not a heavy enough damage dealer to get that dual kill immediately.
Yeah, I mean, kills are one thing, but they've done really successfully in this lane. Padrino just picked up his second last hit of the game thus far to the 25 of Bambo at his opposite. So they are going to rely heavily on Massacre's Blink Dagger to start to cue some aggression for this squad and create some space for Padrino, because as you mentioned, he really is their only late game presence in this one.
And even though Padrino is off to a slow start, it is Padrino on Slark. He's very capable with that hero, and the other heroes, the other core heroes for BBC are doing pretty darn well themselves. Lina and Troll Warlord, slightly going towards Troll Warlord, but nothing too substantial there. The Enigmas is really just quietly farming in the background, as Enigmas typically tend to do. There are Enigmas that like to farm, there are Enigmas that like to gank, and opening up with the smoke, I would have expected Yapzor to make some sort of movement by now. Maybe he's going to look to grab level 6 base and then try to use his black hole for a very aggressive play, but this Enigma is holding on to 100 gold right now in the smoke that is actually doing nothing for him so far.
Yeah, definitely so, but encroaching upon that level 6, as you mentioned, Magoma going to rotate in mid, a back off from Miracle will keep him safe for the time being. And a pretty passive early game farm wars are about even because of this Enigma. Either way, they would have been going to BU if not for Yapzor, but it definitely is the reason that the lanes are a bit weaker for BBC, so certainly understandable. Massacre is farming just fine on his axe despite being zoned out quite a bit. He's got 27 last hit, so is 1,000 gold into this one. Can pick up his Tranquils or perhaps Naked Rush that Blink Dagger. As you mentioned, there's a lot of zoning potential in this lane, but not so much kill potential on this axe, so maybe early set of Tranquils is not what he's going to opt for.
Well, Miracle, he is packing that level 6. Laguna Blade is up. He knows that the Sand King has been stacking because, it's a reasonable assumption pretty much at any given point in any given game versus... Oh, actually, Padrino down to his bottom lane. He's in a little bit of trouble. Bambo, though, does not have level 6, but he has a Phase Boots and a lot of movement speed. He will get Frost Blasted. The heal is going to come out. It's only level 1, but it will be enough to keep him safe versus that Lich. But, man, Legion Commander bullying Slark so hard in lane, and that's probably the difference of Phase Boots. Slark, if he was getting any sort of CS, would have a boot situation to mirror that of the Phase. But this extra damage is pretty much auto-winning Bambo the lane. Not to mention fucking Mad also being here constantly to help out. So the Legion Commander very close to level 6. Needs a little bit more health before she could actually get the duel off. But in this type of situation, if she outright duels the Slark and he's at half HP, that can very easily be a kill. But it's over towards mid lane where we're going to see Yapzor make his first rotation. Has a black hole, primed and ready. He's going to use it immediately onto red. This is going to be the kill most likely that sets the first blood. And LSA Laguna Blade is there, which will obliterate the Troll Warlord's health pool. It's going to be Miracle to draw first blood, and Yapzor, very sneaky with that black hole, is going to help secure it.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, was waiting on that cooldown and makes good effect of it. Usually, because it's such a long cooldown, about 190 seconds at level 1, you see heroes on the Enigma hold on to it for quite a while until they can find an impactful one. But a kill is a kill, and it's certainly well worth that cooldown this early on, as there is not going to be a response from BU anytime soon. Miracle trying to hold on to that Laguna Blade as long as possible, but did have to expend it. Bambo getting a little bit low bottom, but with the phase and the overwhelming odds and movement speed, there's really no kill potential on him aside from a very nice pounce coming out from Padrino.
Well, his bottle is going to be returning to him right now, so he'll chug that one down, and he is itching to get some action down on this bottom lane. Bambo has level 3 overwhelming odds. Even if it's not going to catch any additional creeps, it still will do enough so that he gets set up for a dual kill. Once he hits just a little bit more experience, he will be able to pull that trigger. and Mad is of course ready to go as well. He has level 3 Fade Bolt, which between that, the overwhelming odds in the duel, should be enough to kill off the Lich at the very least. Hell, they probably also have enough to kill off the Slark outright. Maybe they don't get the duel damage, but they'll get a kill anyway, and they're actually going to rotate towards the mid lane, expecting Mirrors will come in. It's not going to be successful, but they're going to grab a regen rune instead. That is just as good, actually. And well, Red is also going to grab the other rune, so it's unknown. Even though they did drop First Blood, across the board, they're looking pretty darn good.
Yeah, definitely so. And Shadow Dance is now available for Bridon, but as you mentioned, with that telekinesis, if they overlap it on top of the duel, they have almost a full 6 seconds of disable for Bridon's Slark, and they should be enough to bring him down. Levi postured up defensively behind this Slark right now, is looking for that gank to happen fairly soon, as Bambo is going to eclipse that level 6 mark with that last creep here. So definitely is some kill potential in this lane. But yeah, as you mentioned, pretty passive early game, but BU certainly doing very well. Paris farming nicely. He's got a full Aquila up, and he's picked up a ring of regen, so we'll see what he transitions that into. Perhaps he's building into a mech for his team, which wouldn't be a bad item. But Massacre going to find his blink now, which is very big for BBC, especially considering it's sub 10 minutes and he is already level 8.
You usually need to rely on your axe generally to set the pace of the game. That's his job, that's what he does. Up till now, he hasn't really been doing anything except for grabbing a couple of last hits and stuff down towards the bottom lane, which is fine. But now that he has his Blink Dagger, he's actually going to have a substantial impact in this game. And this Blink Dagger is right now hidden. Levi up towards bottom, though, is going to get set up with the duel. Not quite enough mana. There it is, though. Levi is going to get chopped down, and Bambo is going to claim the first duel victory of the game. Very easily done. Synergy there we saw with the duel and the battle trance. Don't really know if that made the difference there, but it certainly helped out. Over in the mid lane, Red going to try to get the tower denied, but he gets caught with the Malefice. LSA is going to miss, however, and Red will survive.